Okay, okay, good afternoon. I'm Joe Bandel, and I am the last Rosicrucian. This is lesson number 4 in the training program for Oak, Tantra, and Etheric Warrior training. And as per usual, sometimes this will be the second time that I did this video. The first time because I've been messing around experimenting with different techniques and stuff, different software, hardware, that kind of stuff. I've videotaped this whole lecture with no sound at all coming through because I was not hooked up to the proper microphone. So that took a half hour. So anyway, this one, number 4, is opening the heart chakra. And why is that important? What makes this meditation, these two meditations so special? That's kind of what I'm going to try to cover and talk about in this lesson. Before I start on that, I'm going to say, hey, know thyself. This is kind of one of the wisdom sayings. But anyway, if we look at what's going on with the energy ball meditation, the first time we merged, there was a energy ball 2 inches above the head, and then we envisioned one in the middle of the brain. That was the first meditation. The second one was we did that, and then we added a ball at the third eye. And then the last one, we did all those, we repeated those steps and created what's called the basic energy ball. And then we kind of charged it by bringing it up to source and brought it down gradually till it went to the throat chakra. And now we're going to go down, we're going to continue that process and go down to the heart chakra. But there's a big difference. There's a lot of different things that are going on here. And the last time I mentioned that basic energy ball actually creates an astral body that you can travel in, that awareness can travel in. So it's practice with that, and it's practice with all those things. But to become clear about what's going on, I'm going to have to talk about some of these chakra centers as they relate to science, as they relate to which astral body or etheric body we're talking about, or what they represent. So when we think of source, we think of we think of God or goddess or whatever. What we're actually talking about is a trinity of things. One of the first trinity, instead of Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, we're going to talk about the photon/electron, which is its reciprocal, its opposite. Then the magnetic vortex, a north magnetic vortex, a south magnetic vortex, or a repulsion vortex, or an attraction vortex. And then the third part of the trinity is going to be the first element, which is hydrogen. One electron, one proton, and one neutron in the middle of the atom. And when we talk about the womb of creation, well, if you look at an atom, there are 7 possible electron rings. And when the last one, the 7th, is completely filled, it has 32 electrons in the ring. And that is called organosin, is the name of that element. And it is the furthest that's the boundary of what's physicality, if you will. And it is a noble gas, which you can't see, you can't smell, you can't touch. It's like nothing's there. But it is the ocean that contains everything else. So we're going to kind of talk about these different astral bodies, because we're going to be one by one, we're going to be activating chakra centers, because we want to begin developing these astral bodies. If you want to be an etheric warrior, you not only need to develop the etheric body, but you need to connect it to functioning awareness so that it does what you want to do. All right, that's the general idea. So that trinity that we just talked about, including hydrogen, is above the great abyss. It's beyond the great abyss. All earthly manifestation, what they basically call earthly manifestation, is going to be below that. Starting with the first electron ring, which has 2 possible electrons or sensory inputs or awareness points. And that's hydrogen and helium. But in the metaphysical world, in the astral world, it's archetypal reality. It's black and white. Okay? And it represents, at that level, that's the archetypal level that creates everything. Right above that is the unity, which is represented by hydrogen, which is the bridge between energy and physicality. It's the atomic threshold, if you will. And we recognize it as the sun, what's coming through the sun, because the sun is not only mostly hydrogen, but the sun is also becoming, and it's radiating photons. So source is coming through the sun, and it's coming through the stars. This is why the ancients revered and would at sunrise they would open themselves to the first rays of the sun to get that energy. Or at night, they would open themselves to the starlight to get the energy that's coming in, streaming in from the stars, which is coming down from across the great abyss as a form of light. We call that spiritual light. Okay, and it's archetypal awareness, black and white. Duality, I mean, you can't have a picture without a foreground and a background. You need to have 2. That's also the balance of male and female. The second possible electron ring has 8. And so does the third. So the second and the third are both mental energies. The first is philosophical, creative mental energies. And the second is how we understand, how we view and experience the world around us through our sensory abilities. Now, what's happening? So, when the first, the archetypal, the two, that was represented by the crown chakra. And when so we brought that hydrogen level down and merged it with the crown chakra, which actually created for us, done properly, it created an astral body that's kind of like a balloon. It's kind of human shaped with absolutely no features that you could recognize. It's just that archetypal. And it's created, you can call it a light body, but that's what it's represented. It's just that basic fundamental thing. When you come down to 8, you come down to the abstract mental level. All of a sudden, what happens is the first 2 of those 8, they duplicate the awareness from above. So they bring down that archetypal knowledge. And so they're bringing down that light, which is explosive, radiant, and they bring down that Nobel gas, that solidness, that layer of completion. So they form they're forming the outline of the archetypal astral body that at this level, which is the level of the third eye, the third eye, no, the crown center. Okay, yeah, the crown center. Now we go to the third eye and we're adding the 8. You get those 2. That leaves 6 left. We say we have 5 senses. Well, if you can figure out an extra sense, it could be weight, I don't know, whatever it could be. That's the extra sensory input that comes in, and at the level of the abstract mental energies, your astral body is more defined. It has features. It's more like a photograph, if you will. It's still missing a lot of things, but it's actually starting to look like a person, okay? So that creates that astral body. Well, the third ring is also 8. That's that concrete mental. It's what we observe as our reality out there. And there's a 1-to-1 correspondence between 8 and 8. So what happens at that third level? That third level, it brings down those 2 for the archetypal. And then it's going to bring down those other 6. But how does it work? Because we develop these points, these awareness points. We work on them, we generate them one at a time. And what happens is the first one comes in next to the light one, and the next one comes in right next to that end one, the dark one, the shadow. Because the one on the end, the Nobel gas, that's the shadow. Awareness, our conscious awareness, is not normally connected to that shadow aspect. So as we develop either one of these mental bodies, either one of these Nobel gases, neon or argon, we keep activating one awareness point at a time, one sensory input at a time. And that first one we're going to be consciously aware of. The second one is going to go into our dark side. It's going to go into our shadow, and we're not necessarily going to be aware of it. So something starts to trigger on the shadow side, and that's going to stir things up inside of us a little bit. You add another one, and then you add another one. So you kind of are going back and forth. You're in the process of the development of the soul. You gain a little bit, and then something acts up because the shadow's being activated. That's kind of what happens until you get to the point where they're all activated, and then at the end they meet in the middle there, and something happens, and it's pow. Okay, all of a sudden everything comes into awareness, and that astral body becomes activated permanently, and you can use it. And it comes, so it's that balance. You could call it, say, one half's the spiritual element. You can call that the male element. Uh, the Nobel gas, the earth level layer, the shadow self. You can call that the feminine, the hidden, however you want to call it. But that's the way that it goes. And as we are doing this energy ball meditation, we're opening up blocked energy channels. And we're bringing energy, we're channeling energy down to activate a new awareness point. And we already found out how by bringing that energy ball up into the source, into the spiritual light, it charges it, and then it comes down and it attracts the negative toxic element, the black shit. It attracts it like a magnet, and then you can lift it up and get rid of it, recharge, come back down, get a little more. That's opening that energy channel. And what's happening when we're working with the heart center, the heart chakra center? If you look at the heart chakra center, for the first time there are 18 awareness points or 18 sensory inputs. Well, the basic energy ball that we're working with only has 8. 8, that means there's 10 that we can't do anything about. But we can get this first 8. And so the first 2 are going to be the archetypal knowledge. That archetypal knowledge comes down, and it goes to one side and it goes to the other side. And then the 8 come in, 4 on this, 3 on this side and 3 on this side. And the shadow starts erupting at that level, and the spiritual side, the awareness side, conscious awareness starts developing at this side, but it leaves 10 in the middle there that we can't scratch, we can't touch. Those have to be done the hard way. Those have to be done through physical generation of energies over time. The energy ball meditation is not going to touch those 10, and that happens because that happens with both the sun, or the heart chakra, and with the solar plexus. The upper emotional chakra, the upper emotional energies have 18, and the lower emotional energies have 18. But again, we have the situation where 18 and 18, they kind of mirror each other. And if you can get the top 18 totally activated, they will have a corresponding match to the ones below that, to the lower emotional ones. It kind of gives you a handle on some of those. However, we keep coming down with the energy ball. We keep coming down with our 8, because that's all we have to work with at this point. And we get to the 6th and 7th rings of the atom, possible potential rings. They each have 32 awareness points, sensory inputs. All of a sudden, hey, I got 8. We're bringing down the 2 as the archetypal. We're bringing that awareness down and recreating that on the etheric level or the immortal physical level, the soul level, if you want to call it that. We're bringing that down, and we're bringing the mental levels down, the mental awarenesses down, so that it's a clone, if you will, so that that awareness kind of can exist. A similar awareness exists at these different levels, and you can kind of rise up and down the planes with a mental awareness. That's the best that we can do. That's what we're trying to do with this energy ball meditations, ultimately. And that's the limitations of them. Because, okay, we can get the 8, but now there's a lot of them that we can't get. They have to be done. They have to be brought into awareness. They have to be generated through hard work, various types of hard work. However, the meditations can help do that a little bit. They can work it. But I'm just saying that there's a limitation there. But again, when we bring that energy ball down to the 7th, the outermost level, the level that is the womb of creation level, where the Akashic records are, we're bringing down, the first thing we're bringing down is that archetypal 2. We're bringing down the dual, the black and the white. And as we work with the etheric level, even, the first one's going to go to this side, to the light, the other one's going to go to the earth or the dark, and the shadow is going to be building, and we have no conscious awareness of the shadow because it's hidden from us. It's hidden from us until the spiritual side is built up to the point where they meet in the middle, where they touch. I'm just trying to share the mechanics of what we're working at, and how what we're doing is a lot of the toxic elements, a lot of the black shit that's inside of us is buried down deep. And when you start activating that stuff, what happens is it can be dangerous because it can burst out in psychotic behavior. That's the danger of erupting these things. However, what we do by bringing down this energy ball to those levels, we've created a safety valve so that when something explodes, it can go up instead. And as it goes up, it comes into awareness in a healthy way, not in a dangerous way. This is a form of self-therapy, if you will. Okay, I've got notes here I'm looking at. Notably, we're trying to open up the heart chakra. I mentioned before, the throat chakra level and the heart chakra level are the ones that, according to other people and according to myself, other people that have done this meditation, whether alone or in groups with me, whatever, they're the ones that have stuck points. They're the ones that really have the problems. And when I was working with the heart chakra, that's the time when I was experiencing almost nonstop astral battles. I was experiencing almost nonstop being attacked, kind of like trying to fight for my life. And you think about the heart chakra, you think about, well, why would that be? But it's because the higher up you go, the control, black magicians try to get as high as they can without crossing the great abyss, okay? They try to get, because that's the point of power. And so at the heart level, or even at the throat level, that's where you're going to see the most powerful magicians who have integrated from that point down. That's where they're functioning at. And because that's the point of power. And you're going to be fighting for your life in a way. But as you do, you learn how strong you are. You learn about the realities of the astral planes. You learn that, hey, this stuff is real. And also what you're doing and what we're doing with this energy ball meditations, we're using source by connecting into it, by reaching up to it with that energy ball. We're getting used to the idea of using that as a source of power, as an infinite source of power. Because everything having to do with astral bodies, having to do with astral battles, astral duels, energy, all of that stuff is about energy and not having enough of it. Well, that's why when you tap in to source, you're not going to run out. And as we make that a habit, we don't run out. It becomes very empowering. Also, working that energy ball, and we're going to be bringing it down to the heart center. When our awareness is in that, and we ride it up and down like an elevator, what you're doing is actually learning how to rise up and down the planes. And what you're doing is your awareness is shifting. It's going from concrete mental energy, and it's going into abstract mental energy, and it's going into concrete spiritual energy, and it's going into abstract spiritual unity energy, bringing it way up, so it's coming down and going up. And our awareness can do that. We're actually using it as when we're using it as an elevator, we're using it as an astral body that we're traveling in, kind of moving up and down. And that's preparing us for using it as an astral body for doing probes, mental probes, something like that. Because at this point, we're still using the mental levels until we start developing those emotional astral bodies. But I'm just kind of mentioning some of the benefits of what these meditations are actually allowing us to do. Another example is a lot of people, it's a common truism or whatever you want to call it, that you visualize things and that will lead to manifestation, physical manifestation. Well, think about you're visualizing something and all you're doing is using mental energy. That's a long way from physical manifestation. Okay, but what happens when you use that ability, that mental ability, and it's dropped down and it's linked at the emotional planes where there's 18 sensory inputs, you're adding things to it, okay, and you're visualizing the same exact thing, but now what are you doing? Now you're adding emotion to it. And that makes that visualization, you can't even call it a visualization really, because you're emotionalizing it. I don't know the right word to use when you're visualizing emotionally, because that doesn't it doesn't really compute that way. But what you're doing was, instead of your creation, your mental, instead of a mental creation, you're now doing an emotional creation. That is far more likely to manifest physically, as far more powerful. And when you get down to the, uh, we call it physical, but immortal physical, the sixth and the seventh, the etheric levels that have 32 awareness points, 32 sensory inputs. When you bring your visualization down, and your visualization down to that level, and you're focusing 32 awareness points or 32 sensory inputs on what you're creating, again, you can't call it mentally creating because you're using all of these other levels. It is damn near manifested. You kind of follow what I'm getting at. Is this is how the creation of things works. This is how physical manifestation works when you talk about it realistically. So that's what the meditation, the solo meditation, is really working toward. The group meditations are helping you to work with a group. They're helping you to work with collective energy. They're helping you to connect to the other members of the circle at whatever level that we're working at, and to be on the same wavelength as these other people. And as you help each other out, it gets easier, because you're not just working for selfish goals, you're working for common goals. And you're not all trying to do the same thing, but you're kind of saying, I'm helping you. I'm not even telling, I don't even care what you're trying for, but I'm helping you. Will you help me? Because ultimately, it'll all work out. There's room for everybody. It's not, there's no need for the competition. There's no need for the fight. So when we're working that one and we bring it down to the heart level, you can share, you can radiate the heart level out, and you can feel connected at the heart level and the above energies with everybody in the circle. And it kind of is a stopping place. Well, it's a stopping place there. I want to say that the visual the meditations that I do for myself are group portal meditations, because they are the most powerful. But we've got a long way to go before we can really use those. So the real powerful ones are working with group meditations. That's why we're practicing those. But to try to spice it up a little bit, this is why I'm adding the second portion to those group meditations, to make them to give them a little extra kick. And we're working on personal limitations. This time we're going to be working on personal limitations, which are like, what is it about yourself that you don't like? Is your nose too big? Are you too tall? Are you too short? There's something that you don't like about yourself that's physical or whatever, and you can't do much about. And really trying to ask you to think about those things. Think about where the emotion is latched onto those. And then, switching over to an opposite kind of memory, which is about where there's something about you that's really cool, that you're really able to do. There's something you're really able to do that's really cool, and it helps. And it gives you advantages that other people don't have. And at the same time, you can explore memories of where others have been supportive of you and where others have mocked you, made fun of you, or where you've supported others and where others have supported you. I mean, we're trying to find balances because each one of these is charged in comparison to the opposite. And they're trapped energies. They're emotionally charged memories. Let's put it this way, no memory should be emotionally charged. It's a waste. You know, they should be flat. They should be just neutral, able to pull them up at will and let them go. And that's what we're going to be trying to do. So that these are the things for the lesson dealing with the meditations for opening the heart chakra, and why each one of them is progressive, but dealing with a little bit more, but they're actually doing a lot. And so when you can work the meditations smoothly, you feel good about it. And my recommendation is you try doing each meditation until you can do it smoothly. Since I'm adding new ones every week, there's plenty of time. I mean, there's going to always be something new coming up. And you don't want to get too far behind. You want to not have to make up things that you could have done before. Anyway, that's it. See you next time. Oh, the other thing, I am trying to work these new lessons out. And this one's a video, but the two meditations, you're going to go to my Patreon page and you're going to see this video, and right below it on the same post, I'm going to have the two supporting meditations, the solo meditation and the group meditation, links. They're going to be links there as audio only files. That way I don't have to mess with the videos and things like that. So it's kind of streamlining and helping me out. You don't need to see my face and see my living area when your eyes are closed doing a meditation. That's all I'm getting at. And it makes it easier for me. And it should make it easier for you. So instead of having to dig out 3 different posts to put it all together, everything should be attached to this one lesson area. Okay, thank you.